Hi everyone. This is what happened to me when I got government housing part 101. By the 4th of the 4th, 2018, I was completely exhausted in every sense. And on most days, I didn't want to get out of bed. I had reached a point where I didn't want to go on. And I felt like it was impossible for me to continue. But somehow I did. So on the 9th of the 4th, 2018, I knew that I had to wash my clothes at the laundrette and I had to pay for some printing for a VCAT hearing that I had the following Thursday. So I went back to the pawn shop and I pawned my earrings. I now had 3 loans with the pawn shop and 1 loan with cash converters. And I believe this debt was a result of what the respondent did to me and the fact that the people in the justice system kept refusing to do their job where I was involved. And I think this could be proven in court. So in other words, I think it can be proved that my debts were a direct result of, what I suffered and the way the people who worked in the justice system treated me. I was a single woman living on welfare with no family in Melbourne, despite the fact that someone had been telling the staff at the compensation court that they were related to me. And that's not true. I don't have any brothers or sisters. But anyway, I was a single woman living on welfare, and the way I was treated by the people working in the justice system was appalling. And the follow on effects of the way I was treated were excruciating for me, in every sense of the word, physically, psychologically, and financially, everything. It was so painful for me to think about how I was treated, and I just couldn't deal with it. I blocked out what was happening to me so I could get through each day, and I continued to pay my own way through the justice system because police had refused to take my statement, lawyers had refused to represent me, and people who worked in the courthouse didn't believe me. All the debts I had taken out needed to be serviced with repayments. So that meant that I had less and less money to support myself. And, you have to understand that I didn't start out with much. I moved into my government housing unit with the hope of building my life, not having it stripped away. But anyway, I had less and less money to support myself because of the debts and the costs and the property damage that I suffered. But because I was expected to perform administrative tasks to have my court applications heard, I was forced to pay the administrative costs involved. And when I couldn't afford to pay those costs, I went into debt. Then on the 12th of the 4th, 2018, I attended VCAT for the hearing to get compensation for my washing machine and dryer. And this hearing was really cruel. And I want everyone to request the video of this hearing so you can see what happened to me. This was at the hearing, I was at the hearing with my daughter because it was actually school holidays, as I explained in a previous video. And this was a VCAT hearing at the VCAT in Melbourne. So anyone who wants to request the video of my hearing, it was the 12th of 4th, 2018 at VCAT in Melbourne. When I went into the hearing, the housing officer was there representing the department, and the tribunal member appeared to have a personal problem with me, although I had never met her. And I would like the video from this hearing to be released so everyone can see how she spoke to me, because it was pretty disturbing. The tribunal member refused my application for compensation, which was devastating, not just because I was in so much debt, but because of how nasty the tribunal member was when she made the order. Because when you're at a VCAT hearing, they actually read out the order. On the day in front of you. The member stated that there would be no compensation, emphasizing the word no. And when she did say that, my daughter looked like she was going to cry, and that made the tribunal member smile. I don't know how anyone could be so nasty and so cruel as to smile when a child is in pain, but that is what that tribunal member did to us, and I was disgusted, and I was shocked. You'd think that I wouldn't be shocked, after all this time of being treated so badly by those people, but I was. I was completely gutted. I mean, it was creepy. It was just horrible. I can't emphasize just what a horrible, horrible experience that was. But it's important, as I've said before, I don't just want to make these allegations, I want to prove them. So if anyone wants to dispute that that's what happened, by all means, release a video and everyone can see it. And I want, everyone in the world to see what happened to us. I don't, I don't want that person to get away with the way I was treated. It was just disgusting. I waited in the courtroom after the judgment for everyone to leave, and I comforted my daughter as best I could, but I don't think that it made a difference. And that was so painful for me, as a mother. And I had no one to comfort me. That's the other thing that needs to be said as well. I had no idea what I was going to do to pay off my debts and to pay for washing my clothes. The tribunal member appeared to be taking a swipe at me, and I don't know why. One thing that always amazed me about the people who work in the justice system was that they presumed to know me and treated me like I was guilty of some sort of crime, even though I was the victim in the cases that I presented to court. I don't know anyone in the justice system, and I have never worked in the justice system, not in admin or in any other capacity. So I don't know how they think that they know me. The other point that I wanted to make was that people who work in the justice system are supposed to be working off evidence and to be impartial. And she clearly wasn't. I mean, smiling when a child looks like it's about to burst into tears is not impartial. But the people who work in the justice system would frequently ignore my evidence or my pleas for help or my efforts to help myself or my, asking to make statements or whatever. And they would judge me personally. It was quite obvious when dealing with a lot of them. Obviously I'm not saying that all of them are like this. I'm not. I'm saying it's definitely most of the ones that I dealt with. But that doesn't mean that all of them are like that. And, I would like to give credit to those people who are not like that. But I'm not talking about people who are not like that. I'm talking about people who are like that because the ones that I dealt with who are like that. Okay. So, they would frequently ignore my evidence and they would judge me personally, and they would make a point of making it clear that they were judging me personally. And they got away with it. They seemed to think that there was one set of rules for them and another set of rules for me, which were harsher and more personal. But I never attended court without evidence. I didn't just walk into the courtroom and make demands for compensation. I always presented photographic, video, and verbal evidence, and I always turned up to court, and I was always on time. But it never made a difference. I felt that the people working in the justice system had such strongly held prejudices against me that no amount of evidence could have ever won me my case. After the hearing, I spoke to legal aid and I asked how I could appeal the ruling. And the lawyer that I spoke to claimed that I would have to go to the Supreme Court and that there would be costs involved. And that was another theme that I kept coming across. I was constantly being told that I would have to pay costs out of my own pocket, even when I was speaking to government funded services like legal aid. There was no way that I could afford to pay for a hearing at the Supreme Court, and I wasn't going to try. So I just took my daughter home and we tried to pretend that it didn't happen so we could get through another day.